Part 1, The Bet That Changed Everything. The neon glow of VO Station. The bar was a melting pot of interstellar vagrants, smugglers, and professional gamblers, all soaking in the thick neon haze of VO Station's most infamous drinking hole. Holographic cards flickered on game tables, credits exchanged hands, or claws, tentacles, and occasionally telekinetic waves. The smell of burned synth liquor mixed with the ozone tang of a recent plasma discharge. It was a place where deals were made, alliances were broken, and reputations were gambled away in the span of a single round. And at the heart of it all, Rivka sat like a queen on her throne. She was Vakar, tall, lean, and predatory. Her amethyst skin shimmered faintly under the dim lights, and her silver-white hair cascaded in careful braids, each adorned with warrior beads that clinked softly when she moved. A tattoo ran from her temple down to her jawline, marking her as a strategist of the Third Expanse Fleet, one of the youngest ever to hold such a title. The game before her was Celestial Reckoning, a centuries-old test of intellect and patience played across shifting dimensions, a game only the sharpest minds could master. And Rivka? She was undefeated. That was why she didn't even blink when the human sat across from her, grinning as if he belonged in her world. Jonas Vil, the human wild card. Jonas Vil. His reputation was harder to pin down. Smuggler, gambler, occasional con artist, he had the look of someone who had seen the worst of the universe and had somehow charmed his way out of it. Tousled brown hair, sharp green eyes that held too much mischief, and a stance that said, "I'm either about to win big or die spectacularly." Rivka barely spared him a glance. "You're wasting your time, human." Jonas leaned forward. "What, no warm welcome? I thought Vakar warriors respected a worthy challenger." She let out a slow, deliberate breath. "And I thought humans knew how to recognize their own limits." The surrounding players chuckled, but Jonas only grinned wider. "Limits? Never heard of them." He gestured to the dealer to start the game. "The game begins." The first few rounds were easy, too easy. Rivka barely paid attention, shifting her game pieces with the lazy precision of someone playing on autopilot. She let Jonas make his opening moves, humoring him the way a hunter humors its prey before going for the kill. But then something changed. Jonas wasn't just playing, he was watching. Every time she placed a piece, he tilted his head slightly, as if calculating something she couldn't see. He didn't just react to the board, he reacted to her. His play started feeling less like random guesses and more like he was waiting for her to fall into a trap she didn't know existed. Her fingers hesitated over a piece that had never happened before. Jonas took a sip of his drink, watching her. Something wrong? She ignored him and moved. The board shimmered, pieces phasing between dimensions, reforming in new positions. It was a solid play, one that should have locked him into a corner. Jonas whistled lowly. "Oh, that's nasty." "Smart. If I were anyone else, I'd be sweating right now." He casually flicked a piece forward. The board recalculated. Rivka's heart stopped. Her move had been perfect, except Jonas had already set up his counterplay 5 turns ago. The pieces aligned in a sequence she hadn't anticipated, forming a pattern so ridiculous, so stupidly lucky, that it actually worked. The dealer chimed, victory to Jonas Vil. The aftermath. The bar went silent. A few murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass. Rivka stared at the board, then at Jonas, then at the board again. She had lost. She had never lost. Jonas leaned back in his chair, stretching like a man who had just finished a particularly satisfying meal. "Huh. Well, that was fun." Rivka's jaw clenched. The rules were sacred. A bet was a bet. She had made one, and now she had to honor it. She stood slowly, towering over him. "A deal is a deal," she said, voice low. "Tell me what you want." Jonas tapped his chin in exaggerated thought. I could ask for money. Or for you to admit humans are superior strategists, which would be hilarious. But no, I think I'll go with something more entertaining. She glared. Choose wisely, human. Oh, I have. His grin sharpened. I want you to be my bodyguard for one full cycle. The bar erupts. The entire bar erupted into laughter. A Valkyr strategist, one of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy, babysitting a human smuggler? Someone in the back shouted, "Rest in peace, kid." Even the dealer emitted a mechanical chuckle. Rivka, for the first time in her life, found herself at a complete loss for words. Jonas clapped his hands together. All right, then. Glad we settled that. Now, quick question, how good are you at dodging bounty hunters? Her eyes narrowed. What? Because I might have made a few people mad recently. Also, we should probably leave right now. A high-pitched alarm blared through the bar as the front doors were kicked open. A group of heavily armed mercenaries stormed in, their cybernetic eyes glowing red. The leader pointed at Jonas. That's him. Alive if possible, dead if necessary. Jonas sighed dramatically. See? This is why I needed a bodyguard. Rivka exhaled through her nose, rolling her shoulders. Fine, she growled, stepping between him and the mercenaries. But if you die, I am not responsible. Jonas patted her arm. That's the spirit. She threw him a murderous glare before drawing her weapon. Jonas smirked. This was going to be fun. Part 2, the first fight. The bar brawl begins. The first shot barely missed Jonas's head. Rivka had moved before he even registered the danger, her body reacting on pure instinct. One moment he was standing there, flashing his usual stupid grin, and the next, wham, his entire world turned upside down as Rivka threw him over a table. He hit the ground hard, knocking over a tray of drinks and earning a string of curses from an insectoid gambler whose exoskeleton was now covered in something that smelled vaguely like burning licorice. Jonas groaned. Okay, ouch. Was that really necessary? Rivka ignored him. Her weapon was already drawn, a sleek, plasma-forged Valkyr blade, glowing violet in the dim light. She didn't need a gun, Valkyr warriors preferred precision kills. The mercenaries weren't impressed. Stand down, Valkyr, the leader growled, leveling a modified shock rifle at her. This is between us and the human. Rivka's grip tightened on her blade. He is under my protection. Jonas, still sprawled on the floor, raised a finger. Technically speaking, I'm under a table, but I do appreciate the sentiment. The chaos unfolds. One of the mercenaries fired. Rivka deflected the shot with an effortless flick of her wrist. The plasma bolt ricocheted, shattering the neon sign above the bar. Sparks rained down like fireworks, and suddenly the whole place erupted into chaos. Patrons scrambled for cover, tables overturned, and someone in the back shouted, "Hey, I had 20 credits on this game, you bastards." Jonas scrambled to his feet just in time to see Rivka launch herself at the nearest mercenary. She moved like liquid violence, twisting around his attack and slamming the hilt of her blade into his throat. The mercenary choked, his weapon clattering to the floor. Jonas turned just as another one lunged at him. Whoa, hey, let's talk about this. The mercenary swung. Jonas ducked. The punch missed by a fraction of an inch, but he still felt the shockwave pass over his hair. Before he could think of something clever, and preferably non-lethal, Rivka yanked him back by the collar. "Stay behind me, human." "No arguments here," Jonas squeaked. The battle intensifies. Blaster fire lit up the bar, scorching the walls, shattering glasses, and making the bartender curse in 6 different languages. Rivka cut through the chaos with brutal efficiency, disarming, dodging, striking. Within seconds, 3 mercenaries were down. Jonas, meanwhile, was frantically dodging furniture and trying not to die. A chair flew past his face. A bottle exploded next to his ear. "I don't suppose you have an escape plan," he called over his shoulder. Rivka deflected another plasma shot. "Do you?" Jonas hesitated. "Okay, follow-up question, how do you feel about improvisation?" "I despise it." Jonas grabbed a nearby chair and hurled it at the last standing mercenary. It didn't exactly take him down, but it did slow him enough for Rivka to land a devastating kick to his ribs. The mercenary collapsed, groaning. The room fell silent. Jonas dusted himself off, straightening his jacket. Well, that went better than expected. The final threat. A deep mechanical click echoed through the room. Jonas turned slowly, only to see the mercenary leader standing a few feet away, pointing a very large thermal disruptor directly at his face. "Move, and I vaporize you," the mercenary growled. Jonas held up his hands. "Okay, no moving. Absolutely still. I am now a statue." Rivka's expression remained unreadable, but Jonas could see the subtle shift in her stance. She was calculating, waiting for an opening. The problem was, there wasn't one. The disruptor was fully charged. One shot, and Jonas would be dust on the floor. Rivka exhaled slowly. "Let him go." The mercenary smirked. "You want him? Fine. But he comes with us." Jonas swallowed. "Not loving this deal, by the way." The mercenary tilted his head. "You're worth a lot, human. Do you even know why?" Jonas blinked. "Wait, I thought this was about the whole owing money thing." The mercenary chuckled. "Oh, it's much bigger than that." Rivka's eyes flickered with something dangerous. "He belongs to me." Jonas raised a brow. "Okay, hold on. Belongs is a very strong word." Before he could finish, Rivka moved, fast, too fast. In one fluid motion, she knocked the disruptor off course, sending the blast into the ceiling. Then she drove her blade into the mercenary's shoulder, pinning him against the wall. The mercenary gasped in pain, his body twitching from the energy surge. Jonas winced. "Oof. That's got to hurt." Rivka stepped closer, her voice ice cold. "Leave. Now." The remaining mercenaries scrambled to drag their injured leader out of the bar. The second they were gone, Rivka turned to Jonas, arms crossed. "You are an idiot." Jonas grinned, brushing dust from his sleeves. "An alive idiot, thanks to you." The bartender cleared his throat. "I'm going to have to ask you two to leave before more bounty hunters show up." Jonas sighed. "Fair. Also, I'm guessing I have to pay for damages?" The bartender gave him a flat look. Jonas sighed harder. All right. We're leaving." He turned to Rivka, flashing a cheeky smile. "So, where to, oh fearless bodyguard?" Rivka rolled her eyes but started walking. "Somewhere quiet, where I can ask you just how much trouble you've got me into." Jonas followed, whistling. "Ah, see? Now that's a fun conversation." Part 3, The Hideout. A cramped refuge. The hideout was a cramped, dimly lit storage unit at the edge of VO Station's maintenance district. The walls were lined with rusted crates, forgotten machinery, and the lingering smell of something Jonas really didn't want to identify. The only light came from a flickering plasma lamp overhead, casting eerie shadows that made everything feel significantly more dramatic than necessary. Jonas sat on an overturned crate, stretching his legs. "So, this is cozy." Rivka, pacing in front of him with her arms crossed, did not look amused. "Start talking, human." Jonas sighed. "Can I get a little more specificity?" I've got a lot of stories. Rivka's eyes narrowed. The bounty. The mercenaries. The fact that they knew exactly where to find you. I do not believe in coincidence. Jonas rubbed his jaw, considering. Okay, so funny story, not funny, potentially amusing story. Rivka unsheathed her blade just enough to let it hum with energy. Jonas cleared his throat. All right, all right. I'll be serious. Sheesh. He leaned back, running a hand through his hair. So, I may or may not have stolen something. Rivka's expression remained unreadable. Stolen what? Jonas hesitated. I don't actually know. Silence. Then Rivka tilted her head, as if trying to determine if he was genuinely that stupid or if this was some kind of elaborate joke. You stole something without knowing what it was? Jonas raised a finger. In my defense, I didn't mean to steal it. It kind of happened. Rivka exhaled slowly, pinching the bridge of her nose. Explain. The package. Jonas leaned forward, lowering his voice. All right, so a few weeks back, I got hired to do a simple job, pick up a package from a remote station, no questions asked. Easy credits. I do the job, get back to my ship, and next thing I know, half the galaxy's under the impression I've got something priceless. Rivka sat down across from him, her gaze sharp. Describe the package. Jonas frowned, thinking back. It was small. Fit in my hand. Looked like a data module, but different. No markings, no interface, just this weird metallic casing, like it was hiding something inside. Rivka didn't move, but Jonas could tell her brain was calculating something. And you didn't attempt to open it? Jonas held up his hands. I like my fingers where they are, thanks. She considered this, then stood abruptly. We need to see it. Jonas scratched the back of his neck. Yeah, so about that, I don't exactly have it on me. Rivka closed her eyes. Of course you don't. Part 4, The Disguise. The security officer look. VO Station Security Dock. Jonas adjusted his ridiculous uniform, trying not to laugh. I've got to say, you really pull off the whole security officer look. Rivka, dressed in stolen station security armor, did not respond, mostly because she was actively fighting the urge to murder him. Jonas, meanwhile, was wearing a completely inappropriate outfit, a maintenance worker's jumpsuit, complete with a bright orange safety vest. He grinned as he scanned his fake credentials into the security checkpoint. The bored-looking officer at the console barely looked up. Name? Jonas cleared his throat. Yeah. Officer Gary. Rivka visibly twitched. The officer sighed and gestured toward Rivka. And her? Jonas smirked. That's Officer Murder Stare. Don't ask too many questions, she's not much of a talker. Rivka resisted the overwhelming urge to punch him. The officer groaned. Fine. Go. They stepped through the checkpoint and into the ship impound yard. Rows of seized vessels stretched before them, each locked behind energy barriers. Jonas cracked his knuckles. All right, time to steal my own ship. Rivka glanced at him. I assume you have an actual plan. Jonas beamed. Of course I do. He paused. Mostly. Rivka sighed. I truly hate you. Jonas clapped her shoulder. Ah, you say that now, but give it time. I grow on people like a disease. Rivka rolled her eyes. You are delusional. The alarm. Before Rivka could retort, the station alarm blared to life. Jonas groaned. Well, that was fast. Rivka turned toward him slowly. What did you do? Jonas hesitated. Okay, so fun story. The shipyard exploded into chaos.